Right, so to give us some more insight into food inflation, joining me live now from Melbourne is Simon Roberts. He's head of agricultural commodities at ANZ Banking Group. Thanks very much, Neve, for joining us. So as we were hearing there, wheat, soybeans, corn, all rising at the moment. Is this rally set to continue?
I think so. I think it'll continue for the remainder of this year at least. The FSU, as was mentioned before, the German wheat crop's been downgraded. Russia's lost about 20 million tonnes. They're out of the export market. They were the major supplier to the Middle East. So the US hasn't had this level of weekly exports for 10 years. They're churning out roughly 50 million bushels every week at the moment, and they're going to be the major supplier to the rest of the world for the remainder of this year. So the situation is that supply has diminished, but demand is relatively inelastic and is increasing year by year. So prices are set to rise for the remainder of the year.
So, Simon, if you can be a little bit more specific and tell me more about which commodities stand to benefit the most from this rally.
Well, the wheat market is short of supply until the Australian wheat crop comes on later this year, December, January. So a lot hinges on Australian wheat production. It looks pretty good at the moment on the east coast. The west coast, Western Australia, is probably short by 2 million tonnes from last year. So they would be a major supplier to the Middle East. So the buyers haven't really got any choice at the moment. They have to pay up. And until we see Southern Hemisphere supplies come on stream later this year, it's hard to see why prices will fall for any period of time.
From what you're saying, Russia's ban is causing and will continue to cause a great deal of disruption. How much of a spike in wheat could we see?
Well, I think prices for wheat will probably approach the highs they made back in August. The Chicago Board of Trade wheat contract got to around $8.50 a bushel. I think that's definitely possible again. I think corn prices, they hit highs for the year on Friday night. We've got some supply-demand statistics released by the USDA next Friday. That will tell us a lot about whether supplies relatively are shorter again for corn as well. So there's going to be demand for feed grains for wheat for the remainder of this year, and that will be reflected in price moves in both wheat and corn.
So, Simon, could we see a repeat of the 2007-2008 food crisis? Are fears of a global food shortage justified, in your opinion?
Well, I think the Russian move was to avert or head off any possibility of domestic price rises in Russia. China sits on pretty big stockpiles of wheat, feed grains and oilseeds, but they will be not wishing to deplete their supplies. I think most countries, there will be sovereign concerns about supply, and I don't think you'll see some of the countries like India and China who have been and can export wheat or corn at any time. I don't think they'll be particularly anxious to do that until they get a better idea of what supplies are available later this year.
Good stuff. Thanks very much indeed. Good to get your thoughts. Simon Roberts, head of agricultural commodities at ANZ Banking Group.